So before I'm sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay. So in the previous class, we were discussing about structure. In structure, what happens that before structure, we were storing collection of items which were of similar type. But now in structure, we are able to store elements of different data types, and we are able to store information, process information in better way. Okay. So you can see if you want to store information of a student, which is of not similar type like roll number, name, date of birth, courses, marks, percentage, then you can use structure. Otherwise, you need to create 5 array, one for the roll number of 40 student, one for the name of the 40 student, one for the date of birth, one for the course. But in this case, what you need is you need to encapsulate all information into one block called structure, and then you create array of 40, array of structure of 40 students like that. So we have discussed these things in the previous classes. So we directly come to now to the accessing part of it. Okay. So suppose you have created variable of the structure and you want to access the information. You know that it is structure is user defined data type, and in the user defined data type, basically you have overall encapsulation or overall name of the block, that is the structure variable name, and inside that structure variable name you also have independent items which you have taken together to create the structure. So how you go to those variables and then print the value of those variables, because those variables are actually having the or value which we want and which we want to process. So here in this case, what we do is that you first create variable, suppose of struct student of student one type, and then you want to assign value to the variable inside this student one. So what are the variable inside this? You have two variables, roll number and percentage. So student one dot roll number equals to 1001. So if you want to access any item inside structure, you will use dot after the variable creation of the structure, and then you will do all the necessary operations as you have been doing in previous invited lectures also in the demonstrations. So if you want to change or if you want to assign new value to the percentage, then you will write student one dot percentage. So this way the situation becomes that you need to write structure variable, then one dot variable, and then name inside structure variable. So this way we access the information. So you can see in this example that I have created student structure. In this student structure, I have integer roll number, I have name of the student, in which I have defined maximum 20 characters I will store. Then I have float percentage. So these three data related to the student I am storing here, and they are not of same type. Now I am creating one variable of this structure, struct student one, and then I am trying to enter all three values using this variable. Okay, so because to process the information, we have to first initialize this information. And how to initialize this information? We can directly assign value to these variables, or we can assign these values by taking values from the user when we are running the program. So in this case, we are taking value from the user when we are running the program. So if you see here, so what happens that struct student one, I am saying printf enter student details. So now I am asking the user that you enter the student details, and first student detail I want to take from the user side is roll number. So here print enter roll number of the student. Since roll number is integer, so I am taking scanf %d address student one dot roll number. So student one dot roll number tell me the variable, actual variable where value to be stored, and address of that thing where I want to store that value. Because when we do scanf, we always go to the address and then store that value. Now again, I want to enter the name of the student, and here I am saying scanf s. So I will take the complete name in one go. and then student one dot name. Here I am not placing address. Reason is because this is your string. String means it is array, and by default, when you give the name of the array, it is converted into the base address. So you don't need to give the address operator here. After that, you want to enter the percentage of the student. So here, since percentage is float, so we are taking %f and then address of student one and percentage. So this way we are able to initialize the value, and now we are displaying the details which we have entered for the student. And you can see here, you can print the same way: student one dot name, student one dot roll number, and student one dot percentage. So the output we get is this: enter student details, enter student roll number. I have entered 1001. Enter the name of the student, my name, and then enter percentage of the student, that is this one. So we are able to see that information is this, which we have entered, and it is printed here. Now, important thing which we discussed in the last invited lecture also is that here I am just writing Sachin, not Sachin Kumar. Okay. So there is no space in between. If you have space in between, then here you will use gets, not scanf, because scanf only takes the value of the string up to space. After that, it does not take it. Okay. So now we come to the operations which we can perform on structure. So structure operation is that suppose you want to assign one structure value to another structure value. And you know, in structure, you have items inside the structure. So there is one variable from the top which you see, that is structure variable. But within that variable also you have some independent variable which are associated with the information for which you are creating your structure. So here what happens, that there are two ways. One way is that each you have two students which you have created, student one and student two. In one student you have information, and you want to copy student two information in the variable represented student one. So here what happens, there are two ways of doing it. You can copy the content of the second student to the first one by copying each individual candidate, each individual data item inside the structure. Just like this, student one dot roll number is assigned student two roll number, student one dot name is assigned student two name, and student one percentage is assigned student two percentage. Like that you can do, or you can assign the structures second way, that you can, these are two variables, so you can assign the student two directly to the student one. In both the ways, so if you want to replace some values of some variable of one particular structure with the second structure, then you can do your operations. And if you want to completely assign the values of one structure to another structure, you can also do that. So these are the operations which you can perform, assignment operations on structure, in two ways. Okay. Now, since structure is a user-defined data type, so you can also, and structure is also a data. So you can also have a situation in which you want to store structure within structure. So there may be requirement in real world where you can store your structure within structure, because structure up to this point we have discussed, they are having integer variables, float variables, array variables, string variables. So structure can also contain structure. So in this type of situation, we say that it is a nested structure. And what we have, that you have to place the second structure inside one structure simply as you have been doing. For example, if you want to define that rectangle, in rectangle, when you are defining, you need only two coordinates, top left and top bottom. And what are those coordinates? They are again storing x and y. Okay. So x and y value, since they are two values, so you can create a structure for them in the form of coordinate, as 2D coordinate structure we have discussed. And then one variable of that struct coordinate structure will represent top left, and second one will have bottom one, and then you combine both of them and they will be able to represent the structure. Like that you can have structure within structure also. So another example, then you can initialize them, and then you can see if they are forming the triangles or not, or like that. Any operation you want to perform on triangle, you can do that with the help of structure. Sorry, rectangle. Now, how array stores element, that we are going to discuss here. That in array means if you want to store structure array inside structures, then what happens? What is the representation that is displayed here? That suppose you are creating one structure of a struct record in which first variable is float and second one is character y5. It is a character array of 5 characters y represented by y variable. So logically it is organized like this, that float and then character. So this way first float is stored, then this is stored, then if other variables are also there, then they are also stored. Like that, this is the logical organization inside memory. Okay. So now suppose you have 60 students in your class and you want to maintain the information of all students, and one student information you can have in your structure. So then you can maintain the information of all 60 students by creating array of structure. Array is having collection of data items of same type. But here we are storing student which are having same information, but value of those information will change inside structure. Okay, so that is a different thing. Value may change, but the data type will remain the same. So all student are of struct student type. So we can store array of structures also, which you can see here. Suppose we have this entry structure we have created, character. So this way we can create 1000 entry of structure using array. So here what is happening, when I want to define array, I want to give the name of the array. I want to give the data type, that is struct entry. And after that, I want to tell in the form of dimension how many elements are there in the struct entry list. So these are 1000. So this way you can create. So it will create 1000 identical entries, and then you can assign any value to these entries according to the requirement. So we can also create array of structures. We can also have array inside structure in the form of name or in the form of some other variable situation. Now we come to how to initialize the array. Okay, so one part of that we have also discussed before, but in other way we can see that simple way. If you have created this structure to represent some information in your program, struct sale, then in struct sale you have these three data items: care, customer name, item the customer has purchased, and the amount of that item. So now you want to initialize the variable created of this struct sale. So first you create the variable my struct sale, and then similarly to the array initialization initially, as we have discussed, you assign the values in proper sequence. Okay, and this way you can also initialize your array, initialize your structure, or you can initialize your structure by using my sale dot customer equals to ACME Industries, my sale dot item equals to Jorgel Blaster, and then my sale dot amount equals to 1000. Like that you can also do. So both ways it works. Okay, now relationship of pointer and the structure. So structure is also a data means a data item, and it is also stored in memory. So it means it also has address, and since it also has address, so it can also be pointed by pointer. So we can access element of structure using pointer also. Earlier we were accessing element of the structure using the structure variable which we have created. But if we have any pointer which is pointing to the structure, how pointer will point to the structure and how it will access element inside the structure, that we are going to discuss here. So what happens that in structure you decide what is the template of that structure. So this is structure part which we have created just for this example. So this is the part name and this one is the float price. So these two values are there. And now I am creating one pointer of structure type. You can say this is the structure type, this is pointer p variable, and this is pointer representation. And this thing is the structure variable. Okay, means it is, this variable is actually creating memory space inside required memory space inside memory, and we are giving that memory space name thing. And we are also creating a pointer of p type which is of structure type. So here what we are doing, we are going to the address of the thing which is the variable of struct part of type struct part, and then we are assigning that to our pointer p. So now you have two ways of accessing value of the part, by using the variable thing or by using the pointer. So if we have to do, suppose I want to initialize the price inside this struct part, so I will write thing dot. If I am using structure variable, then I will use dot. If I am using pointer, I will use indirection operator. Okay. So here this thing dot price equals to 50. I can also do like star p. It means go to the location where p is pointing to, and then it becomes automatically the variable. Okay. And then dot p and then 50. And you can also do p pointing to the price and equals to 50. So in three ways it can be done easily. And the difference is that here you are explicitly using the same variable which you have created. Here creating the same variable or going to that memory location by using the pointer variable and then going to the price. Here you are just using the pointer and then accessing the price and doing it and assigning the value. So all three will work. Whatever way you want to do, you can do it. But remember that when you are using this type of situation, then you have to always enclose it with the brackets. So pointers, using pointer, you can also access the structure. So we can also allocate structure array as well. Okay, and in this manner, it is dynamic memory location, as some of the participants were trying to ask. So when you are assigning value at compilation time, you just assign them, variable is created according to the requirement. But sometimes what happens that you want to take memory location, reserved memory for the program when your program is running. So in that case, you create one pointer variable and use dynamic memory allocation operations like malloc, calloc, realloc, and free. And using these methods, you assign on runtime dynamic memory from the memory. Okay, and then you use that memory, and when your program is completing its processing, you free that memory space using the free function. So this way that can also be incorporated here without any problem. So this is the structure part which we have covered. Everything in the structure we have covered, starting from the definition of the structure, then how to initialize, why it is required, what type of information is storing, what is the size of the structure. Structure size will be the total element size. After that, we discussed about how to initialize the structures, how to assign one structure to the another structure. We discussed about what is the relationship between pointer and the structure. Using pointer also you can get information of the structure. and without pointer you can also get the structure. Without pointer, if you are doing, then you will use dot operator. If with the pointer you are doing, then you will use indirection operator. Like that we have discussed. So we have discussed that you can have structure within structure, you can create array of structures, you can have array as a data item inside structure. So lot of things you can do with the structure. So structure is one of the important concept which you should consider when you are writing programs and trying to think. All the high level programming languages, when they talk about the classes, that is actually based on the structure concept. The extra thing in other classes is that operations also become part of the structure, but here operations are different. We only store the data items inside the structure in the C. So this is completion of our structure concept in C. Now we come to the file handling part. I hope this screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So now we come to the file handling part. In file handling, what is file? We have to understand, because in file also we are storing the information, and without file also we are storing the information. So which one is file, which one is not file, we have to first distinguish between these two. When you are creating the variable and when you are writing your program and you are saving that program with .c extension, so there is space or a file is created on your desktop or wherever you are using the location to store that file. So that is file, and that file reside on your hard disk. But when you run your program, the copy of that file goes to the primary memory, which is called RAM. And in that, instruction by instruction, it is executed by the CPU. Then it is part of the memory, and the variables there exist, their value is actually inside the primary memory. Okay. So file is, whenever we are talking about file, we are calling about the permanent storage, which is available on your desktop. When we are talking about the variable or the memory, then we are talking about the primary memory, which is RAM, in which our runtime, all the programs, when we are running them, they are loaded into the primary memory, and then they run, operating system run those programs there and execute and give you result. But when that program terminate and it goes, any questions?
Sir, there is disturbance only.
Okay. I would request that you please move to the participant.
Done, sir. Now you can proceed.
Thank you. So file is any space you are creating on your hard disk where you are storing your data or your items, anything for the permanent storage, permanent till the time that your system is intact and it is not having any problem. So when you create file, you can create image file, you can create PDF file, you can create doc file, they all are stored on your desktop. But when you start running them and doing that processing, they are loaded into primary memory, and then all the things happens. Okay. So you can see that Google Chrome file on which our program is running, that is already there in our program files or our desktop where it is installed. But when we click on the icon and it is stored and it is running, then it is part of our primary memory concept. So primary memory, that's why it is volatile, means whatever processing you are doing, information is available up to that point. After that, when you terminate your program, you have no information left. Okay. So suppose you have written the program. Now you have calculated the information, and you will calculate or you will use that information later on also. But as soon as you terminate your program, your information will go away. So in that case, what you need is you need permanent storage. So for that thing, whatever information you are creating in your program and you want to store that thing for the permanent storage, so you create file. you write that information, variable values and all these things into the file, and then you save that file. Okay, so this will be this is writing of the program data into the file and saving it for the hard disk. Sometimes it may happen later on you open that file, you want to open that file and do the modifications into that. So what will happen then, you open that file using the programs, and then you do the processing, again save the data, and then again save that file and close that file, and it is automatically saved. So this way, when you are dealing with the permanent storage, okay, and not the primary memory, and you want to do the operations, okay, you want to read data from the file, you want to write data into the file, you want to search whether file something exists or not, so then these operations are taking place. They help us to do these type of things. For example, if you are MSc student or research scholar, so you have given an entrance examination. In entrance examination, if suppose PDF file is there, and in that PDF file you want to search your roll number, whether you have qualified or not. So you will, when that PDF file is saved, then it is saved file, it is not running. But when you click on that file, then PDF software runs and it is loaded into the memory. And once it is loaded into the memory, then you are using the operations which we are going to discuss now. And after that, you start doing operations like first you open the file, then file is opened. After that, you search for your name. So search function is also available, which will search in the file whether your name exists or not. And after that, once you see that your name is there and you are qualified, you close that file. Okay. So you are doing that using icons, that this is for the closing, this one is for the opening, this one is for doing. But internally, the person who has written the software, that person has actually used the things which we are going to discuss now. So I hope the difference of file and the primary memory, permanent storage, why we are studying this thing, that is complete, or you are getting the point, means objective of the discussion, which is going to help you in storing your information, whatever processing you are doing for permanent storage. And we are going to discuss all these things in now. Is there any doubt? So file is actually what? So you are creating in file, as I have discussed with you, that file is a mechanism to store your information for permanent storage. So these are the operations which you can perform. You can create a new file. Okay. For example, if I right click on the desktop and I see the options of new, I can create new doc file. So internally, these functions are being called for creation of that doc file. But visually, you see that doc file is created. Then you can open the existing file. You can read data from the already existing file. You can write data to that file which you have opened. You can move to the specific location to that file and start reading. For example, you do not want to read every time from the beginning. You want to read from the second page or fourth page. Then you can do that. Then you can close the file. Okay, and you can, these are the very basic operations, but after opening and you are given these operations, after that you can do operation according to the requirements. So just like search you can do on your own. So these are the file operations which we are discussing. So if you see here, to open the file, you need fopen function. It will open the file. It has this structure here, that fopen equals to, you will provide the file name and in which mode you want to open the file. For example, you are opening the file for writing the data into it, or you are opening the file just reading data from the file. So in whatever mode you are writing, you have to specify here what is that mode. So you will create a file pointer. This file pointer will call this function, and inside this function you will give the name of the file as well as where this file is located. So complete path to the name you have to give, and then this will open the file. If this file is not available, it will create new file. If this file is available, then it will create that particular file. Now, if you want to close the file, your work is complete, then you will call this function fclose ffile.fp. So it will just close the file and your work will be complete. If you want to read data from a file, then you will use what? You will use this function fgets, and then you will provide a string in which you will read data line by line or any number of bytes you want to read from the file, because all the things are characters. You will read the data from the file into string, and then automatically after reading into the string, you can do your information processing, whatever you want to do. And then you will write how many bytes you want to read in one go, and then what is the file, you will provide the file pointer to this function. Then if you want to print that data, so you have taken that data into this string, so you can print this string. You will be printing that data. If you want to print the complete file data, then you will write the loop, read one line, print it, read one line, second line, print it, like that you will do. So this way it happens. Now in the C operations, I was talking about the modes. So if you want to open the file into the memory, okay, and if you want to read that file, then you will provide R. If you want to write the file, if you want to read the file into writing mode, open the file in the writing mode, then W is there. If you want to search or append something, then this one. So these are the modes. Accordingly, you can decide which one to use, which one not to use according to your requirement. Okay, so we come to that. We have one file name .text, and we want to read this file, read data from this file. So what we are doing is that we are first creating a pointer, file pointer, which will point to the file. Okay, because file is a different entity as compared to the data items. So that's why we have a separate pointer for each type file. And then file pointer variable we are taking here, and we are assigning value to it, that which file you have to point to. So here we are calling this function fopen, and then we are giving name of the file and the mode. And once this is linked to this file and it is open, so we do what? We take this file pointer and we read data into our strings. And how that data is stored in the file, we need to know initially that what is the organization inside that file, so that we can have that data in our strings, and then we can print or do any information processing we want to do. Now we want to write the data into the file. So again, we will open the file, then we will create the file pointer, then we will open the file in the writing mode. Here we are reading the files, and here we are writing into the file. So it will be W mode, it will be reading mode. After that, we have this information which we want to store. So you will write fprint. Printf means you are printing to the display terminal. Fprint means you are printing or writing into the file. F means file, printing into the file, not on the display. So here you provide the file pointer, which will identify in which file we want to write, and then you provide this information. It will be written inside file after this operation. And after you have done all the processing, all the information, or all the operations on the file, so you will do what? You will close that file. So this is the function you close. You call fclose, and then you provide the pointer, and it will be closed. So this is the program which we are writing here, which is written here, which can be easily understood. You can start reading this program. So we will see that initially we have taken this program here. This line has include stdio.h for our input output work. String, because we are using string functionality, so string.h we have also used. After that, we have created our file pointer. So because we want to do certain operations on file. After that, what is there that I am creating a string. String means collection of characters, and I want to write that string into the file. So what happens? I need to create a string which is of 50 characters. I have taken it. The dimension according to your requirement, you can take it. So here I am creating this string. I have initialized this string with string literal also. Okay, so I'm not taking this value from the user. What I want to enter into the file, I have just for this example taken this value from the for when we are compiling the program, or at the compilation time itself. I have initialized this variable. Now I want to open the file. That is, name of the file is this. So gfg test.c, and since I want to write inside the file, so I am opening it in writing mode, not in reading mode. When I see that I will only read data from the file, then it will be opened in writing mode. When I see that I will be writing into the file, then it will be in the writing mode. In writing mode also you can read the data, but in reading mode you cannot write the data. So you have to understand this thing. So now you are opening this file and you are assigning the pointer to it. So this pointer is now pointing to the file, this file. Okay. Now, since it is new operation, so there are two possibilities, that your operation is successful or your operation is not successful. If your operation is successful, it means you have opened the file properly. And if your operation is not successful, it means there is some problem, file could not be opened. The reason for not opening the file may be that memory space is not available to load that file into the memory, or file may not exist, or file may be corrupted, or something like that. Any problem can occur and file may be opened or may not be opened. So you have to test this condition always whenever you are writing the, or you are doing any file operations, that if you are able to properly open the file or not. So here what happens, that we are here writing, we are testing if file opened properly or not. So if file pointer which is pointing to the file after execution of this operation is having value null, it means that there is no location to which it can point. So it does not know whether file exists or not, but file has not opened. So because it is not pointing to a particular file and it is still pointing to the null. So in that case, file could not be opened, or the operation for opening the file has failed. So then you can, since you are, your main operation or your main function of this program is to do file processing or to do file handling. In that case, what happens, your first task is to open the file, and if that task is not complete, it means you cannot do further operations, because you were actually trying to read the data after opening the file and do some processing. If the first step is not complete, then rest of the steps are not need not to be completed, because they cannot be completed. So here what happens, then you go here and your program terminate by displaying this information that file could not be opened or opening of the file failed. But if your file is, if your file sorry, if your file pointer is not null, it means it is now pointing to the open file. So now you can do the operation. Okay, so your file is open, and then you do what? You identify what is the data you want to write into the file. So if there is no data, if the string length is 0 and you want to write, then there is no need to do this operation. So if there is something inside the file, then only you should execute the operation. So here we are calculating what is the length of the data we want to write. Okay, so if it is greater than 0, definitely it is greater than 0, because we want to write this text. Okay, so there are so many characters there which we want to write. So definitely this condition is true here, and then we start writing. How to write? We use fprint also, we can use fputs also, but when we use fprint, then there are other things we have to provide. But when we write fputs, then we write the data to be written inside the file and we provide the file pointer. So after execution of this statement, this data will be written inside file, and then fputs will place a new line character inside the file. So that is for the understanding, so that everything next time when you write the data, it start from the new line. Okay, so we are writing that thing for our convenience. So this way you have written this code. So your data is written which you wanted to write, and after this operation is complete, you want to close the data means file, because your operation is complete. So then you close this file and you say data is written successfully. So if you open this file after performing this operation, you will see that their data in that file, this data or this sentence is written there. So this way you can do your file operations. Okay. Now, this was the example for writing data into the file, or any data which you are doing some processing and you want to write that data into the file. Now we discuss the program how to read data from the file. So in that case, same case will happen. The only operation will change is reading and writing. Okay, sorry, only operation will change is reading. In place of writing, we will now start reading. Rest of the things almost will remain similar. So here we are doing what? We are again creating a file pointer, and then we are creating a string in which we have to read data from the file. Okay, so right now it is having garbage value because there is nothing which we are initializing. We will initialize this string with the value coming from the file. Now again we open this file, and you can see fopen is the function, then this is the file, and here we are reading it now, not we are writing. So since we are reading, we are clear about it, so we are providing this mode RW for the sake of security, that some program may not corrupt this file or write something unnecessarily, okay, because of some problems. So for that purpose, we have initially made this remark that we will be opening this file in this program just for reading purpose only. Okay. So we should do in programming language whatever work is required to do. We should not go beyond that. Otherwise, there may be some problems. Okay. So here, since our task is of reading, we can do both reading and writing. We can write W also here and then start reading. But in that case, we are giving space to the writing also. So that is unnecessary task we are trying to do. So that we will not do. That's why we are placing here reading mode. So then again, we discuss this thing whether the file has been opened properly or not by placing this code file pointer equals null. And once this part is complete, it means our file is opened properly. If file pointer is null, it means file did not open properly. So we terminate this program, or program gets terminated automatically. Okay, so now we want to read data from the file. So we check if we read data from the file, and if f gets is returning positive value, it means there is data which we can read from the file, because file may be empty and it can still open. So if there is no data in the file, there is no point in reading data from the file. So we have to test here in while loop till the time we get the data. It will return positive value when we start it is empty file, or we start reading whole file, complete file, then it will return 0. And if it is positive, we go here, and then this data is stored in this, and then we print this data like that. Okay. And after completing this operation of reading the file repeatedly till the time we have data available, we read it, and once it is returning 0, it means file we have read the file completely. We come to the next line that is telling closing the file. Okay. So we say that we have closed the file. So now our reading task is also complete. So in this manner, we do file processing by opening the file, by closing the file, doing operations, okay, appending and reading file, all operations we do according to the requirements. Okay, so now we come to the discussion of modes. So you can see here that if you want to read the file only, then you should open it in read mode. You should write there here R, okay, in this mode. If you want to open a text file in writing mode, then you should write here W. If you want to open the text file in append mode means that there is some data inside the file, and if you are opening that file and if you want to write more data into that file after the data which is already available in the file, then it is called you are appending the data. Okay, so if you want to do that type of situation or that type of operation with file, then you should use this A mode, A here. Later on, wants to open a file in read and write mode both, then you can use this symbol in your program. It will do the both. If you want to open the text file in read and write mode, you can also write like this. Then also it is same way. Both of them are same. If you want to open a text file in read and write mode, but also the append mode, then A+1. Then if you want to open a binary file in read mode, so you will write R and then binary will tell that it is a binary file, so it is to be opened. It is not a text file. If you want to write into the binary file, then you will write WB. If you want to open binary file and append, then you will write AB, A for append and B for binary. So this way, these are the operations according to your requirement you can perform and you can do. Now, some operations which you can perform on means which are helpful in doing file handling are these. That if you want to open, then you will use fopen. If you want to write data into the file, so you can use fprint. Only printf function means that you are writing data to the output stream or output terminal, because terminal is also considered as a file or one output stream. So when we write printf, it means it is going to the terminal or the display in which we see the output. But if we are writing f before that, it means it is displaying the data into the file. So that's why it is fprint, means if you want to write data into file, you will use fprint. If you want to display the data, you will use printf. Okay. If you want to read data from keyboard, then you will use scanf. If you want to read data from file after opening the file, then you will use fscanf. If you want to write a character, okay, into the file, then you will write fputc. C means character. If you want to read character from the file, then you will write fgetc. If you want to close the file, fclose. Now, if you have a file, you have opened that file, and if you want to go to a particular location and then start reading, or if you want to go to a particular location and then start writing, not appending. Appending is different and going to a particular location and then writing. For example, you have written 100 sentences in your file. Appending means you will write 101, 100 first statement after that, but you can also do that after 50 statements I have to remove and start writing. So then you have to go to the 50th statement by using this fseek function. So fseek function set the pointer to a given location according to the user requirement. So if you want to go to a particular location inside file, you can use this fseek function there and do your operations accordingly. Then if you want to write an integer, then you will write fputw. If you want to read integer from the file, you will write fgetw. If you want to return where your current pointer is pointing to, then you will use ftell. It will return the current position inside file where it is pointing to. It is in the beginning, it is in the end, or it is in middle somewhere. If suppose your pointer is increasing and it is going to the memory in the locations inside file, suppose it is at the 50th location right now, and you want to again start it from the beginning, so you will use rewind function. It will set the pointer to the beginning of the file, so you can again do these operations. So like that, these are the operations of file and all other handlings. So I hope this part is complete. So if you have any question, you can discuss with me. From my side, the concept is clear.
हेलो
Hello, sir.
हाँ कोई भी चैट बॉक्स में कोई भी क्वेरी हो मैं
If you have any query related to this language, anything you can ask. Most welcome.
चैट बॉक्स में जो भी स्टूडेंट की पार्टिसिपेंट की क्वेरीज है वो सर से डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. हेलो.
Okay, somebody is asking my email ID, so I am just providing.
कुलदीप.
Yes, sir.
हाँ कोई चैट बॉक्स में कोई क्वेरी है स्टूडेंट की या पार्टिसिपेंट की, वो आप उनसे सर से डिस्कस कर लीजिए उनसे.
Okay. Sir, there are no queries from participant side.
I think somebody is asking in the chat box, so wait. I am just giving my contact details so that they can contact me if they have any problem. Okay. So you can go to the web page, this web page, and here my contact details are there. So I just copy paste them and so that you can see them. I hope it is visible to everybody.
Yeah, it is visible, sir.
So these are contact details and email IDs, and these are my social media handles. So you can follow me here also and ask directly questions to me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere wherever you would like. And you can send me mail also on these email IDs. These are my contact details. Any other question? One question is, can we use class instead of structure? Yes, we can use, but it depends what is the situation. Okay, because we are using C here and everything, whatever we are doing, that is through C. So C does not have classes, so we cannot use classes in the context of C. But in other programming languages, you can use classes, no problem. They were better than the structure. That's why they were invented. So they have more, means much better facility in terms of the programming. So that's why they are being used. So you can use definitely the classes, but in C you cannot use classes because there is no class in C. Any other question?
Thank you so much, Dr. Sachin.
Yes, ma'am.
I am Dr. Neetu, Chairperson, Department of Mathematics.
Yes, ma'am. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sachin, for giving your valuable time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was my pleasure, and I am thankful to Ramu sir. He called me and he invited me for this wonderful program. I also learned and I also made some connections. So, means in terms of the professional colleagues. So, I think if you would like to work in computer science related areas or some means interface between mathematics and computer and do some image processing, machine learning, artificial intelligence. So any area, if you think you are comfortable in your department and students, they can also directly contact me and I would try to help them whatever way I can.
Yeah, so nice.
Apart from C and C++, I am.
Okay. Thank you. डॉक्टर सचिन, हम विद इन 5 मिनट्स हमारा वैलिडिटी स्टार्ट हो जाएगा.
ओके मैम.
हाँ, महिमा एक बार चेक करो बेटा, वीसी सर ने या एक्सपर्ट ने ज्वाइन कर लिया है क्या?
So actually, ma'am, I have some urgent work around 11. I have shifted that thing because of the class it was previously, so I have to leave actually.
ओ,
I told the Ramu sir
सचिन जी बड़ा
about
अच्छा
it.
लगता अगर
Yeah, I
नहीं
know
अगर
that
आप
my prior commitment is there, which I have scheduled because it was starting from 10. So I have to just join back at 11 right now.
चलिए, एनीवे डॉक्टर सचिन, थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye and
Thank
have
you
a
so
safe
much,
day.
sir.
Thank you very much.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग मैडम.
हाँ जी सर, कैसे हैं आप?
मैं ठीक हूँ, आप सुनाएं कैसे हैं?
मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ सर. थैंक यू सो मच सर, आपने हमें टाइम दिया. थैंक यू.
So nice of you. I also thank you for giving me this opportunity.
अभी सर वीसी सर भी सर विद इन 5 मिनट्स ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं.
हाँ, ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम.
महिमा सर का वीडियो विजिबल है सर?
No, ma'am. It's
Sir,
not visible.
सर आपका वीडियो ऑन नहीं है.
From my side, video is on.
यस सर.
Sir, wait. I'll ask you to on it again.
Start my video. Okay.
No,
Now
sir. No, I'm not able to see you, sir. Ma'am, VC sir has joined.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर. हेलो, गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
is my video visible now?
नो सर, नो सर, इट इज नॉट विजिबल.
Okay, let me check.
वीसी सर गुड मॉर्निंग. महिमा वीसी सर को को होस्ट.
Done, ma'am.
ओके. हेलो,
गुड मॉर्निंग मैम.
गुड मॉर्निंग. वीसी सर गुड मॉर्निंग. आई थिंक कुलदीप एक बार चेक करो सर का वीडियो। हेलो
हेलो।
हाँ जी सर। सर आपकी वॉइस तो ऑडिबल है क्लियरली। यस सर नाउ। यस सर नाउ इट्स विजिबल।
It's visible now?
यस सर। यस सर।
Okay, okay.
नमस्कार सर।
हाँ जी,
गुड
गुड मॉर्निंग।
मॉर्निंग।
नमस्कार डॉक्टर साहब।
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
नमस्कार सर, राजेंद्र नाथ सर, नमस्कार।
नमस्कार
नमस्कार नमस्कार।
नमस्कार। डॉक्टर नाथ कैसे हो आप?
मैं ठीक हूँ सर, एकदम बढ़िया। आप सुनाएं
थैंक यू
कैसे
वेरी
हैं?
मच। थैंक यू वेरी मच दैट यू कुड मेक इट। आई एम वेरी हैप्पी कि आपसे बेटर कोई हो नहीं सकता था इस प्रोग्राम में।
So
Yes,
nice
sir.
of you, sir. So nice of you.
यस सर।
तो डॉक्टर नीतू स्टार्ट करें प्लीज।
हाँ जी सर। महिमा बेटा प्लीज स्टार्ट।
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. I, Mahima Malik, from Department of Mathematics, extend a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries and participants. So here we are on the completion of the 2-week value-added course, an interactive approach to learn mathematical applications on C and C++ from 21st May 2021 to 3rd June 2021. The workshop was organized at JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA, Faridabad. JC Bose University was established in 1969 as an Indo-German project, a joint venture of the National Council of YMCAs of India, the Government of Haryana, and the German Central Agencies for Development Aid. Before 1996, this university was affiliated to MD University, Rohtak. However, the state government took over the institute, and in 2009, it became a university through the YMCA University of Science and Technology Faridabad Act 2009. And finally, in 2018, it was renamed as JC Bose to commemorate the name of eminent biophysicist Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose through Amendment 2018. I express my gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar Sir, Dean of Faculty of Sciences, Professor Ashutosh Dikshit Sir, Chief Guest for today's inaugural function, Professor Rajendra Nath Sir, Chairperson of Department of Computer Science and Application, Kurukshetra University, and Dr. Sachin Kumar Sir, Department of Computer Science, University of Delhi, and all the other dignitaries for sparing their valuable time from their busy schedule for this valedictory function. Now I request Chairperson, Department of Mathematics, Professor Neetu Gupta ma'am, to give the workshop's report.
Thank you, Mahima. Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Dinesh Kumar, worthy Registrar Professor Sunil Kumar Garg, our Chief Guest Professor Rajendra Nath, Chairperson Department of Computer Science and Applications, Kurukshetra University, Dean Faculty of Sciences Professor Ashutosh Dikshit, all my colleagues and dear participants. A very good morning, and I welcome you all in valedictory session of 2-week value-added course on an interactive approach to learn mathematical applications of C++. It's matter of great pleasure that Professor Rajendra Nath, Chairperson Department of Computer Science and Applications, Kurukshetra University, is our chief guest of the program. Thank you so much, sir, for giving your valuable time. This value-added course is organized by Department of Mathematics of JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA, Faridabad. The course was held during 21st May to 3rd June 2021. Professor Rajiv Kumar, Member Secretary AICT, was the chief guest of the inaugural session of this event. Faculty members of different reputed institutes were the resource person for the event. A brief summary of the course is as following. Professor R.C. Mittal, professor in the Department of Mathematics, JIT Noida, ex-professor from IIT Roorkee, started from teaching some basic facts about programming language C and C++, translators, type of C and C++, variables, and how to run a C program. Then he explained inheritance in C++, object-oriented programming, types of classes, friend functions, operator overloading, and its examples. Professor R.C. Mittal discussed mode of inheritance, overriding functions, assess modifiers, based and derived classes, and virtual functions. He described topics like file handling in C++, creating file, reading data, process of writing new data, as well as the closing of a file were discussed in detail. Professor R.C. Mittal also explained C++ programs for the numerical methods like programs of bisection method, Regula-Falsi method, successive iteration, Newton-Raphson method, Lagrange's interpolation, Gauss elimination, trapezoidal Simpson's 3-point Gauss quadrature, Euler's, modified Euler's, and Rangakuta methods. All the lectures delivered by Professor R.C. Mittal were very informative and interactive. The other resource person, Dr. Sachin Kumar, is an assistant professor in information systems at Cluster Innovation Center, University of Delhi, give detailed knowledge on topics like basic concepts of C, its applications and objectives. He also elaborated the history of C, C program cycle, implicit and explicit conversion. He described expressions and operators, direction-based and repetition-based condition in flow control, also elaborated the function processing code, function with return value, declaration and definition of function, swap function. Dr. Sachin Kumar told about pointers and functions, pointers and arguments, pointers and array, as well as pointers and strings in detail. Parameter processing, program and function placement for large as well as for small programs. He explained handling a set of items and its processing in program language, reading data from array, bound checking, operators in arrays and pointers. Dr. Sachin explained each topic with sufficient examples and explanations, which made his lecture easy to understand. Doubt of all the participants were cleared at the end of each lecture. Overall, all the resource persons would really have expertise in their respective field. And also they conveyed it to the participants in an easy and catchy way. I would like to take the opportunity to mention that under the guidance of Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Department of Mathematics successfully organized many workshops, seminars, value-added course, expert lectures, and various competitions for students during the past 1 year. This is the third value-added course conducted by the department. Earlier, we organized one value-added course on scientific computing using MATLAB and Python. Second was on LaTeX and scientific writing. I am quite confident that the participants have enhanced their knowledge in use of C and C++, more compelling through this course on C and C++. In the end, once again, I welcome Professor Rajendra Nath for sparing his valuable time. And I also congratulate all the faculty members of Department of Mathematics for organizing this 2-week value-added course. Thank you. Now for a true and actual feedback, I want to invite few participants. First of all, I want to invite Dr. Hambir, Director, Rawal Institute of Engineering and Technology. Yes, Dr. Hambir, please.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Honorable VC sir, respected Professor Rajendra Nath ji, Chief Guest of Valedictory Ceremony, and all members. Professor Neetu Gupta, convener of 2-week value-added course and chairperson of the department and other members of our organizing team. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers for nicely organized workshop. In this workshop, we all have enjoyed all sessions with very interesting content and techniques with brilliant results. It was great to listen to Professor R.C. Mittal sir and Dr. Sachin Sharma ji, who have explained the mathematical application of C, C++ language, which is very useful for students as well as faculty also. I really appreciate the lectures for meticulously planned and equally well organized workshop. The content-rich sessions equipped with interesting examples helped all of us appreciate sessions better. There were times when I felt that the student in me woke up. So, Thank you again, Professor Neetu Gupta and our team for organizing this value-added course in this pandemic. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hambi. Next is Ms. Srishti, student of MSc Mathematics, JC Bose University of Science and Technology.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank my faculty and my college for providing this opportunity, because as a student, I was always scared of these programming languages, but our resource persons, our experts, they provided us so resourceful knowledge, and which was very easy to understand. So I am very grateful to all of you that you provided us this opportunity. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Beta. Next is Gunika Anand, student of MSc Mathematics second year, JC Bose University of Science and Technology.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a student of MSc Mathematics. I've always wanted to learn programming language and was very keen to learn C and C++ as it's in technology right now. But I really never understood the difference of certain things that we use in the language and why we are doing it likewise, like why we're not applying any other method or something. But I'm very happy and thankful to both the teachers for sharing in-depth knowledge, and the very minute details that they shared really helped me and all of us. I guess it really helped all of us. So it was very insightful, and I'm very thankful to the organizing team for sharing this opportunity with us to learn the programming language. Thank you.
Thank you, Gunika. Next is Dr. Manish Jain from IE College, Rewari, Assistant Professor.
Good noon to everyone. Being an alumni of this renowned institution, JC Bose University of Science and Technology, it is a pride moment for me to talk over the feedback of this workshop. Firstly, we are thankful to the organizers that they provided a platform to all of us of learning, even in this pandemic situation, which motivates us that life must go on and we should effort hard in each and every situation. Frankly speaking, I always wanted to learn programming languages like C, C++, and many more, since these are very, very helpful in researches in mathematics. I have learned many things via this workshop under the renowned experts, Professor R.C. Mittal sir and Dr. Sachin Kumar sir. Indeed, the lectures of Professor R.C. Mittal sir on functions and operators, along with the study of arrays and strings, and the lecture of Dr. Sachin Kumar on file handling in C clarified many of our concepts and enriched our knowledge. The key feature about the workshop was its well organization and teamwork. Even students participated and managed all the online sessions very well. Especially Miss Mahima and Miss Bhumika have done a great job. I want to say that handling the WhatsApp group and managing the attendance is a typical task, which was very well done, organized by these student coordinators. I hope that in near future, we shall also have more workshops on programming languages. I also request organizers to kindly organize some hands-on practice workshops on LaTeX and MATLAB and other mathematical programming tools, so that our knowledge shall be enriched and polished. Now, due to limitation of time, hello, am I audible?
Yes, Manish, you are audible.
Now, due to limitation of time, ma'am,
Yes.
I'll now put an end on my words. And lastly, I congratulate the complete organizing team for such a big success of this great event. Thank you all and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manish, for your nice feedback. Thank you. Mahima, please continue. Mahima, you are unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, so I was saying it. Thank you so much, ma'am, for an amazing report, and it was a wonderful workshop. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar sir, a recipient of prestigious Homi J. Bhabha Memorial Award, is a man who speaks through his actions. An able administrator and researcher, Professor Dinesh Kumar Sir obtained his master's and PhD degree from Cambridge University. He started his academic career in the year 1987. His teaching and research career spans over 30 years. He took over the charge as the Vice Chancellor of the university in 2015 and has been conferred with Most Eminent Vice Chancellor Award by All India Council of Human Rights, Liberties and Social Justice. The tenure of Professor Dinesh Kumar Sir as Vice Chancellor of the university has been remarkable, and the university has made notable achievements in his tenure. On the academic front, the university has received A-grade accreditation by NAAC and NBA of its various courses. The university has also made its presence in NIRF ranking at national level. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar Sir, to share his vision with us and to formally welcome our today's chief guest, Professor Rajendra Nath Sir from Kurukshetra University, Haryana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mahima. First of all, I would like to congratulate Department of Mathematics of J.C. Bose University for organizing this kind of event, especially in the time when we are not meeting physically. You could do it in online way very successfully. I remember when you started this program, Dr. Rajiv Kansal from AICT was the chief guest. And today, another important person who is, who has got a large experience and large, I can say that he has been in this area for so many years. And Dr. Rajendra Nath, who is going to be the chief guest on this valedictory session. I'm very happy that, both the personalities are complementing each other. And already Dr. Neetu has described that how it has benefited, what kind of, detail, she has described in detail that what kind of lectures have been organized on this occasion. I'm sure this kind of program is not only for mathematics department. There are other students from the university who have participated, who have attended this program. And already I can see a big number even today, almost around 200. I don't know how many students actually participated in this, but yes, it is still a big number. And this kind of activity is very important, as Dr. Nath will discuss it perhaps in his valedictory lecture. All of us know that nowadays, even students of, school, they can do coding. So if you know C and C++, you can do coding very efficiently. I know students who are doing mechanical engineering, but they are actually very good coder. They earn some money, extra apart from their normal learning process which they are doing in the university. They earn money by way of doing some coding in online way. So that is possible because they know some languages, and this kind of opportunity where students have attended this kind of program successfully for 1 week, I'm sure this will sharpen their coding skills. And once they sharpen their coding skills, they can be, this can be useful to them at any stage, at any time. And all of us know that India is having a large pool of people who are working in the area of IT. Students who are doing degree in different branches, maybe chemical engineering, maybe civil engineering. Sometimes they find job in areas related to IT, and that is possible only if they learn this kind of language apart from their, normal studies also, normal course studies also. So I think this you have given a very good opportunity to BSc Mathematics and MSc Mathematics students. And nowadays there is no boundaries that you cannot get job in this particular place, or you cannot get, this is the qualification required. It's not like this. It is the knowledge which is important. And if you acquire good knowledge of your programming skills and coding skills, I think no one can stop you in getting a good job in Facebook or Amazon or Google, you can still get it, because it is the knowledge, it is the skill which is important rather than degree. So this is a very good opportunity that Dr. Neetu Gupta, who organized this kind of program for the student, for the benefit of students. And I can see the students have got a great enthusiasm and they have attended this program. And I'm sure they must have been benefited, as a few of you have described during the feedback session. And with these words, I would like to congratulate the Department of Mathematics, and I would like to express my sincere thanks to Dr. Nath, who is not only a good person, good professor, and he happened to be my good friend for so many years. And I'm very happy to welcome him on this platform. With these words, thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your words of wisdom. Our department always gets motivated to perform well and achieve great heights. I'm sure all the participants are enlightened after hearing you. Now, it's my privilege to introduce chief guest of today's valedictory session, Professor Rajendra Nath sir. Dr. Rajendra Nath sir is currently working as professor and chairman in Department of Computer Science and Applications, Kurukshetra University. He did his PhD in the field of software reusability. He has teaching experience of more than 33 years. He is actively engaged in his research work and has published more than 115 research papers in international journals and conferences. He has also presented his research at Queensland University of Technology, Brisbane, Australia. 15 students have completed their PhD under his supervision, and he has guided around 250 students for MTech, MPhil thesis, and MCA, MSc students for their project works. He has delivered more than 200 talks at national level in orientation, refresh courses, keynote speaker in conferences, All India Radio, and so on. He has chaired many technical sessions at international and national conferences. His main interest areas include software reusability, computer architecture, parallel processing, UML, search engines, cloud computing, etc. He has also received a Certificate of Excellence from IIT Bombay for organizing 2-week workshop on DBMS under Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. He has vast administrative experience as chairman of the department, deputy proctor of the university for 4.5 years. He is coordinator of Entrepreneurship Development Club of University. He is member of UG and PG Board of Studies of various universities, member of Board of Governors, etc. He has been an editor-in-chief of International Journal of Computer Science and Communication. Now, without any delay, I would like to invite Professor Rajendra Nath sir to address the young minds who have attended the workshop.
Thank you, Dr. Mahima, for nice words. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar, Dean Faculty of Science, Dr. Ashutosh Dikshit, Dr. Neetu Garg, Chairperson of Department of Mathematics and coordinator of this workshop, other members of organizing team, participants, and other dignitaries who have joined in this validity session of 2 weeks workshop on C and C++. It's my great pleasure to be here virtually amidst you. The Department of Mathematics has organized 2-week workshop on C and C++ successfully, as it is evident from the feedback received from various participants. I congratulate Dr. Neetu Gupta for organizing such a relevant workshop for the students of mathematics and other faculty members. I also congratulate Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar, for transforming the university from college-like to what it is today through his vision, leadership, dedication, and sheer hard work. Professor Dinesh Kumar is an excellent motivator for his faculty to organize such kind of academic activities that I come to know through newspaper and other media. And he always pushed their faculty to publish their research work in the SCI journals or journals of repute that I have witnessed even. So I have witnessed all the changes that have been there in the University of J.C. Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA Faridabad. So sir, I sincerely and heartfelt gratitude to you, sir, for transforming the university in that way. And I also wish that university will reach newer and newer height under the dynamic leadership of some young and energetic Vice Chancellor year by year. So thanks a lot. Such a personality and such Vice Chancellor is an asset for state and even for the nation. I feel so. So mathematics has strong relationship with the computer science. Applied mathematics like binary number system, logic, calculus, number theory, all these are widely used in the field of computer science. You might have heard the name of famous mathematician, George Boole, Pascal, and Turing. They have underpinned the mathematical foundation for the field of the computer science. In 1950, Alan Turing said that machine can think. And he gave a Turing test to prove that how the machine can actually think or not. So that test is popularly called as Turing test. So what is that test actually? There is one interrogator, and on opponent side, there is one human being and one machine. Interrogator will ask the question to machine and to human being, but interrogator is not knowing which one is machine and which one is human being. So if interrogator can recognize that these are the answers from machine and these are the answers from the interrogator, then machine can't think. But it didn't happen. The interrogator could not recognize in one test that which one is machine and which one is a human being. So that is popularly called as a Turing test, just to know whether computer has become intelligent or not. So today, like robot Sophia is there, and the people worldwide are taking the interview of Sophia, and she is having all kind of expressions as human being can have. So the kind of artificial intelligence level has achieved in the field of computer science. But there is a strong foundation of mathematics behind all these things. So starting from this artificial intelligence of Turing, today we are talking of machine learning, and we have also talked about the deep learning, and both these subjects have strong mathematical foundations. Out of that, these subjects we can develop further. So C, C++ are basics programming languages which came, the C++ is extension of C language, but C and C++ both are using different programming paradigms. C is using the procedural programming paradigm, and C++ is using object-oriented programming paradigm. So in 70s, when we're developing the software, we were using the structured approach to develop the software. But the size of the software and complexity of the software increased drastically. And we could not develop the software by using the structured programming approach. Then the scientists felt that there should be some new kind of paradigm so that we can develop the large size and complex software. So in the 80s, object-oriented paradigm came, and which is much better than procedural programming paradigm. So in object-oriented paradigm, the strong pillars of this paradigm are: one is abstraction, second is encapsulation, third is polymorphism, and fourth is hierarchy. We call it generalization, we call it inheritance. And there are many more features as well. But I will describe what are actually these four paradigms. If we feel the real world, I tell you, real world is very, very complex. Do we feel the complexity of the real world now? I think everyone will agree that we don't feel the complexity of the real world. So what are the techniques we are applying to simplify the complexity of the real world? These are the techniques that I mentioned in the real world we apply to simplify the complexity. And all these techniques are borrowed in object orientation. One technique is abstraction. What is this technique? In a one-liner definition, if you say, hiding superfluous details and highlighting pertinent details. That means lot of complexity we hide, and that's how we simplify the thing. Like on a chair I am sitting, how much complexity of this chair is. If you start writing on the notebook, you can fill 20 pages, 30 pages. Even the complete detail of the chair is not written. But when we say chair, everyone understands. How does it happen? So many details. For a second, if we forget, we know this is chair, we know this is laptop, we know this is room. We have to tell everything to every other person through each and every detail. Can we tell one or two things in a day? How complex this world to live? So through the process of abstraction, we have hidden the details and highlighted few only. That is how our mental model works. For everything, we create a mental model. Like we create a mental model for chair. Mental model for chair is anything which has 4 legs, 1 seat, 1 back. And you have come across thousands and thousands of chairs so far. You don't remember how many chairs you have seen so far. But any new chair come before you, you readily recognize this is chair, because the new object, when enters into our brain, then it compares with the mental model. Does it have 4 legs, 1 seat? Oh, yes, it is chair. That's how our brain is working. So this is what we call process of abstraction. This process of abstraction is applied in C++. C was extended to introduce the new features of object orientation into the C language. So there you might have studied you are provided the private, public, protected. So whatever you want to hide, write into private. Whatever you want to highlight, put into public. This is how we achieve the abstraction in programming languages. So the main thing here is about any entity in the real world or abstract entity, you have to find out what should be hidden and what should be highlighted. Then process of abstraction in any programming language, not only C++, any object-oriented programming languages, which are running into thousands now, you can understand easily. Second pillar is encapsulation. Abstraction is concept. This should be hidden, this should be highlighted. But encapsulation is the mechanism to implement abstraction. I quote you a very beautiful example for this. Like there is a mica sheet. Mica sheet hides something. Electrical engineer has decided that the jungle of wires be hidden behind the mica sheet. And what is highlighted? Switches and regulators. So mica sheet is acting as encapsulation. Abstraction is concept. And abstraction is concept, encapsulation is implementation of abstraction. So C++ class provides you encapsulation mechanism. So private, public, protected. So what should be hidden? Put into private. What should be highlighted? Put into public. This is the mechanism in all object-oriented programming languages we apply. Third is polymorphism. Poly means many and morphos means state. Morphos word comes from Greek. Morphos is name of god in Greek. That god can appear to any individual in the form he or she feels or like. That is morphos god. That is what we achieve polymorphism in all object-oriented programming languages. So how do we achieve it? Two kinds of polymorphism are there. One is static polymorphism and second one is dynamic polymorphism. In the static polymorphism, like you might have studied, and during your 2-week workshop program, you have been taught the operator overloading. So operator is plus. Plus can be used to add two integers. Same plus can be used to add two real numbers. Same operator plus can be used to add two strings. These are the built-in polymorphism. And same plus operator can be redefined to add two objects. That is operator overloading. So all the operators except few in C++ can be overloaded. And second static was function overloading. So if function like say find sum, so very beautiful name, find sum. If you sum integer, if you sum real number, if you sum character, if you sum objects, you have to give the different names to this function find sum. But function overloading allows you to give the same name and it can have the different forms of implementation. These implementations, these polymorphisms are resolved at the time of compilation. That's why we call them compile time polymorphism. Second was runtime polymorphism. In runtime polymorphism, unless your program starts execution, you cannot decide out of so many forms which form is to be utilized. Dynamically, at the time of execution, appropriate form is bound. In real world, you can think like this, like say, one letter has been received by Dr. Neetu Gupta. What is inside the letter? This letter relates to Dr. Mahima or to some other faculty member. Dr. Neetu Gupta is not knowing unless she open it. Unless execution starts, it is not known out of so many forms which form is to be bound. So Dr. Neetu Gupta opened the letter, then she found that this letter relates to Dr. Mahima. This is dynamic polymorphism. That letter, in one letter, there could be, this letter may relate to 3 people, may relate to 10 people. So that is, and in C++, the runtime polymorphism is implemented through virtual functions, pure virtual functions, and concept of abstract classes. All these you might have studied in your 2 weeks program. Fourth pillar that again come from the real world, that is hierarchy. Don't you think that the entire world is organized into hierarchy? There is a country, country is divided into states, states are divided into districts, districts into tahsils and so on. There is vice chancellor. Under vice chancellor, there are deans. Under deans, there are many faculty departments. In what department, there is a chairperson. Under chairperson, there are many teachers. Is it not hierarchy? You see around, entire world is organized into hierarchy. The same concept comes, that is what you say generalization, what you say inheritance, from this concept of hierarchy. You just imagine if world is not organized into hierarchy, how complex it is. So, what is inheritance? In inheritance, like a child inherits properties from its parents. Child may resemble color, face, gait, etc., etc. So, all properties are not inherited. Some properties are inherited. Means some properties from parents are inherited and some of its own are there. That is what we say generalization to specialization. All inheritance is generalization to specialization relationship. Like bird is there. What is bird actually? What are the generic properties of a bird? Generic properties of a bird are any animal, let's say, which has feather, which has beak, which lay eggs, is bird. Sparrow is a bird, crow is a bird, peacock is a bird, parrot is a bird. All are bird. They inherit all these three features. Inherit. But sparrow has some additional, peacock has some additional, parrot has some additional. This is generalization to specialization. If you visit the zoo, you will find the parrots of different types. All are parrots, but this group is different from this. Difference may be in the pattern of colors. So this is what we say inheritance. I tell you, any software we develop, 70% or 80% commonality is there. So do we reinvent the wheel every time? Or existing should be utilized? So existing should be utilized. Like C and C++ provides you thousands of built-in functions. Suppose these are not there. Every time, every person has to write all these. But these are written by compiler designer, and any person can use it any number of times in their programs. So hierarchy, generalization, inheritance provides you reusability, which is already there, is inherited, and some new needed is added. That is generalization to specialization. So if you understand these four features, then you can understand any object-oriented programming language. And if we are trying to develop the real strength program, then we have to imagine what could be the size of the program. If you are a genius person, but you don't know the methodology to develop the programs, you don't know object orientation, then hardly you can develop a program of 1,000 lines of code. If you are a genius person, you know the object-oriented technology, then you can write a program up to 10,000 lines of code by a single person. So object-oriented methodology is much better than procedural style. As I mentioned earlier also, the size and complexity of the software are increasing. So you just imagine what's the meaning of size in terms of lines of code. Size, not 1,000, not 10,000, not 1 lakh or millions, not even billions. Today's software size is running into trillions and trillions. Whatever you see, Windows operating system, integrated development environment of your C++, the banking system which is working worldwide, airline reservation which is working worldwide, all are programs. Their size is very huge. Without good methodology and good programming skills, we cannot develop such large size programs. So for that, we need object-oriented methodology, object-oriented approach. We started with C++. We started with C. These are still fundamental languages to develop low-level programs, low-level interfaces. But now so many object-oriented programming languages have come up. So even the Department of Mathematics can introduce Python programming language, which has strong foundation for mathematics.
Yes, sir.
Lot of applications. R language, that is also very good. Big data. Now data increased to big and then to extreme. The traditional techniques are failing. So mathematics department has also to go along with. So keep on C, C++, and move on the languages which are used in world today for handling the new situation which come up. Mathematics is the field which always strive for to find the solution of the real world, provides the basis, and computer is catalyst. Two together can solve any new problem, any situation encountered in the world. So with these words, I thank you, Dr. Neetu Gupta, for providing me this opportunity. And I am always grateful to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar, who always provide me the opportunity, such academic opportunity and otherwise also. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you. बहुत अच्छा लगा. Very nice lecture.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Indeed, listening to you is a matter of pride and sheer pleasure. I'm sure all the participants are now motivated and they'll surely perform well and achieve great heights. Now I request Professor Neetu Gupta ma'am to give the vote of thanks on behalf of our university.
Thank you, Mahima. It's a great privilege for me to give a really heartfelt vote of thanks to our chief guest, Professor Rajendra Nath, Chairperson, Department of Computer Science and Application, Kurukshetra University, Haryana, who spent his busiest time gracing the occasion. Today, we had the opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this is definitely encouraging us in our future events. Your thoughts have enlightened us and will definitely benefit all of us. My big thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dinesh Kumar, for encouraging the faculty members to organize such value-added course and sparing your valuable time for today's valedictory function. We are indebted to you for your generosity and commitment to help the young minds by sharing your constructive and creative ideas. We appreciate and cheer for the work you do for the welfare of the society by ignoring your personal comfort. I am also thankful to all the speakers for adorning their necessary work and sharing with us all the valuable information related to this course. I am thankful to Dr. Sunil Kumar Garg, Registrar, J.C. Bose University, YMCA, and Dr. Ashutosh Dikshit, Dean, Faculty of Sciences, for their kind support and guidance. I extend my thanks to all the participants who attend this course, and my best wishes are with you all. I hope this course would live up to the expectation of all the participants to learn about C and C++. I congratulate the organizing team from Department of Mathematics for organizing this value-added course. Thanks are due to Coordinator Dr. Ramu Dubey, Co-Coordinator Dr. Pooja Gupta, and Mr. Kuldeep, and our student team, Ms. Mahima, Ms. Bhumi, and Ms. Rishti, for managing the event so effectively and efficiently. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So now I would like everyone to kindly turn on their cameras for 2 minutes just for taking a group photograph. I request everyone to kindly turn on their cameras for 2 minutes for a group photograph.
Yes, all the faculty members, please switch on your camera.
Yes, ma'am.
Done.
Thank you, everyone. Once again, I thank you all. I thank all the dignitaries for sparing their valuable time from their busy schedule for this webinar. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Nath. Thank you very much
Thank
again.
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
अगली
sir.
बार जल्दी आई होप कि हम फिजिकल फॉर्म में मिलते हैं आपसे जल्दी बुलाते हैं इन्हों
Sure, sir. Sure.
थैंक यू
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू नीतू
Thank you.
ऑल द बेस्ट
Oh, thank you, sir.
The status link